Melinda Gates is a name to be reckoned with in the world of philanthropy, just as the company started by her husband is a force to be reckoned with in the tech world. Reason enough to sit down with her and him for a Sunday morning conversation. They are the richest and among the world's most influential power couples. The foundation that bears their names has given away nearly $40 billion so far.
Your name is carved in equal-sized letters in the front. Is it a partnership of equals?
It's absolutely a partnership of equals. And it's important to both of us that the world understands that we are running this place together. This is our joint values being played out in the world.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the largest private charity in the world. Its $500 million headquarters was intended to make a statement as bold as its mission. Inside, they are literally trying to save the world.
I've asked an employee or two if to work here you have to pass an optimism test. Do you?
Well, yes, our work, the number of lives saved, I think just the exposure here would remind you that the plight of the poorest, as tough as it is improving, and we get to be a big part of that.
We are seeing progress, and I think that those points of progress are points of light that employees can point to and say, I was part of that. We did change the world. We are changing the world.
All right, thank you. Bye. Namaste.
Bye. According to the United Nations, since 1990, global poverty has been cut in half. 122 million children's lives have been saved through immunization, better nutrition, and disease prevention, areas in which the Gates Foundation has been a leading funder.
What we've done as a world is we've done an incredible job of bringing down the number of deaths of children under the age of 5. And that's because of basically vaccines getting out there finally and these malarial bed nets. This is the great thing about math and why data is so important. Not only does Bill like data, I'm a computer scientist. I like data because data tells us where to go and how to act.
For example, 1 million.
1 million children are the number of babies that die on the first day of life. Can you believe that? Still 1 million children die on the first day. So now we know we need to work on that piece of the problem.
This number may astonish you. Last year, there were 37 cases of polio worldwide.
It's the lowest number of cases we've ever had on the planet, and we think by next year we can drive that number to absolutely zero.
The Gates Foundation has a more modest domestic agenda focused on improving public schools. They've invested in charters and promoted education standards, but success has been more elusive.
This is a tough problem. I don't care how big your philanthropy is we can set up experiments and points of light and places where we can show what can be done. Ultimately, everything that we're doing takes government funding to lift it up and to fund it.
Raised in Dallas, Melinda French was valedictorian at a Catholic academy for girls in 1982. 5 years later, she graduated from Duke University with degrees in computer science, economics, and a master's in business, and a job offer from IBM, when a little-known startup caught her eye.
I came out and interviewed with Microsoft, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to work at this company. They are changing the world, and if I get an offer, there's no way I'm not going to take it.
Speaking of offers, you married the CEO.
That wasn't part of my life plan.
Well, I met her at a New York City sales meeting, and then it was only a week or so after that that I went up to her in the parking lot and asked if she wanted to go out.
A week? Were you ready for that?
No, I wasn't. When we met, and Bill was CEO of Microsoft, and I was, all of 23, he actually, that first date, asked me out for 2 weeks from Saturday night. And I said, 2 weeks from Saturday night? How could you possibly know what you're doing? My schedule doesn't go out that far.
I thought, wow, wouldn't you know? She's already met the CEO, and he likes her.
Mary Lehman and Melinda have been best friends since high school.
Did you imagine that she was going to marry him?
No, probably not then, but But I thought, great for her.
She got to see what it was really like. I mean, games and puzzles. We played water volleyball one night in his pool, just the three of us.
What it impressed me the most when I met him was just how down to earth he was and how fun.
After a 7-year courtship, they married in 1994. The next year, Microsoft released Windows 95, revolutionizing the personal computer. And at 39 years old, Bill Gates was named the richest person in the world. The following year, pregnant with their first child, Melinda surprised Bill with news that she meant to be a stay-at-home mom.
Am I right that Bill was supportive, but maybe a little surprised himself?
He was surprised. He was definitely surprised. But I said to him, it just doesn't make sense. You can't be the CEO and go as hard as you're going, and somebody has to be at home, right? We didn't want our children raised by somebody else. And I said, if we want them to have the values we have, somebody has to be home.
Their 3 children grew up in this 66,000 square foot mansion overlooking Lake Washington in suburban Seattle. Since creating the foundation in 2000, Bill and Melinda have traveled the world, seeking out the places their money can do the most good.
From the Gates Foundation, Melinda Gates.
But Melinda shunned the spotlight until 5 years ago when she took on a cause of her own and discovered how harsh the spotlight can be.
When you think about family planning from the perspective of a woman, it will change the way you think about family planning.
Once you became a public figure, in fact, the first time you set foot on the public stage, I believe you discovered how controversial contraceptives can be as only a Catholic girl who got in trouble with the Vatican over it would know. You got slapped down by the Vatican.
It's okay. I'm doing the right thing. There are 225 million women asking us for contraceptives. They're asking us. And I meet women who die because they don't have access to contraceptives. I meet women who beg me to take their children back to the United States. I had a woman say to me, take 2 of my children. I said, I'm so sorry, I can't. And she says, well, then take 1. I mean, these are people living in extreme circumstances, and you can't turn your back on people like that. And so I grew up in the Catholic Church that has a social justice mission. In fact, they used to talk about the cries of the poor. I've heard the cries of the poor, and we need to give access to women to contraceptives.
What did Bill say? He admits that he thought women's issues, including contraceptives, were soft issues. Now it's like a priority.
It's a huge priority.
For him.
Because he sees the data.
What do the 2 of you separately bring that strengthens your capacities?
We both go out and try and see the people we serve, but she does that even better than I do, does even more of that than I do.
When I come back from a field visit, the first person I want to talk to about on the phone or at home is Bill about it. And both to tell them the stories of their lives, but then also for us to put our brains together and say, well, what else could we do? How could we make it better? Do we really know that what they're saying to us in the field, does that add up to the data that we're seeing or not?
Ultimately, the key to the Gates legacy may be their philanthropy. Which makes you wonder, would Bill Gates be having the most impactful second act since Andrew Carnegie without Melinda?
I read this poem that I loved at my high school graduation speech about what a successful life was to me. And it's to know that one life has breathed easier because you've lived. To me, that's success.